There have been various iconic screams in movies and TV shows over the years, like this one from Home Alone, or the infamous primal roar by Arnie in Predator. But no other scream is as iconic as this one. This is known as the Wilhelm Scream, and it's one of the film industry's longest running inside jokes, having been used in over 400 films. It's actually been in almost all of the Star Wars movies, as well as Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, and countless others. The Wilhelm Scream got its name from a 1953 western called The Charge at Feather River. In the film, several men on horseback are traveling along a path in the hills when a character named Private Wilhelm stops for a brief moment to fill his pipe.
Wilhelm! Yeah, I'll just fill my pipe!
In that moment, an archer fires an arrow from behind the bushes and hits Wilhelm in the leg, prompting him to let out the now legendary howl. However, the scream wasn't deliberately named at the time, nor was it a famous sound by any means. That came later. It also wasn't the first use of the sound either, but we'll get to that. The sound remained in the Warner Brothers archives, and it was used on and off in the decades that followed, until it appeared on the radar of a film school student by the name of Ben Burtt. Burtt and his friend Richard Anderson found the scream hilarious, and would put the scream into their student films. And when Burtt was hired by George Lucas's production company Lucasfilm to work on the sound effects for the first Star Wars movie, he took the opportunity to place his favorite scream sound into the huge blockbuster. Over the years, the two started sneaking it into tons of films as an Easter egg for each other, casually referring to the sound as the Wilhelm Scream, named after Private Wilhelm from The Charge at Feather River. I mean, Burtt loved it so much, he even did his own version in Return of the Jedi, where he cameos as a guard trying to stop Han Solo from passing.
Free!
And once other sound designers started to notice its use, they joined in, partly to save costs and avoid having to do original recordings themselves, but also because they wanted to be part of cinema history and speak this shared language. In a way, it's very similar to how the Dies Irae melody became a meme among composers to represent death, something we made a video about if you want to check it out. Except in this case, it was by sound designers as opposed to composers. So I said earlier that even though the Wilhelm Scream got its name from the character in The Charge at Feather River, that wasn't the first use of it. So what is the origin of the sound? Well, when Ben Burtt had tracked it down in the Warner Brothers archives in order to use it, he saw that it was labeled Man Bitten by Alligator and Screams.
Man getting bit by an alligator and he screams.
And eventually found that it was referring to a 1951 western called Distant Drums. In the film, several people are wading through a swamp until an alligator shows up and drags one of them underwater, resulting in the first ever instance of the Wilhelm Scream in the wild. According to a note in the archive, during the making of the film, several voice actors came to the studio to record overdubs, one of which was singer and actor Sheb Wooley, who would later write the hit song The Purple People Eater.
The one-horned flying purple people eater sure looks strange to me.
Burtt was pretty convinced that Wooley must have been the voice behind the scream, as he also appeared in the movie itself, but by the time he thought to get confirmation, Wooley had already passed away. Instead, he managed to get in touch with his widow, who couldn't conclusively confirm it, but did say that Wooley always used to joke about how great he was at screaming and dying in films. So that was as much information as was available about the scream until 2023, when the tape of the original recording was found in the University of Southern California's sound archives. Craig Smith, who found the tapes, released the short session to the public, which involves Wooley doing a couple of screams, before getting some direction on how it should sound.
The first one you did up here was much better.
Oh!
No, not an owl. A real scream of pain.
And then finally letting out the scream that we all know, followed by two very similar ones. And so now we can definitively say that it was Sheb Wooley who was behind this legendary scream. What started out as a joke between two friends has evolved into a meme, and a rite of passage for generations of sound designers. And while the sound design is an often overlooked part of the movie-going experience, this Where's Waldo-like angle of listening out for the Wilhelm Scream has helped bring attention to this incredibly artistic branch of movie production. If you'd like to watch our videos on the DS ERA melody or the THX sound in which Ben Burtt was tangentially involved, you can check them out in this playlist over here. And if you like, you can support us on Patreon or come chat about music in the Discord. Links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Mixed Signals. Bye bye.